All right. Welcome to a meeting of the Town of Barnstable Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee Operating Budget Subcommittee. Today is Monday, April 29th, 2024. This meeting is being recorded by the Town of Barnstable and will be broadcast on Channel 8 after the meeting is concluded. If anyone is planning to record this meeting through audio or video or transmit this meeting, please identify yourself to the chair at this time. The agenda for this meeting is available on the town website. So I will call the roll. Lillian?
Here.
Tom is not here. Jackie?
Here.
Here. Chris?
Here.
Jim?
Here.
I'll ask Hector, even though I don't see him.
I don't see Tom either, unless Tom's in there somewhere.
And Chuck is here, so we do have a quorum.
Okay.
All right. Do we need to approve minutes, Mark, or should that be part of a regular CFAC meeting? Whoops, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I believe they were subcommittee operating budget.
The April 17th was the subcommittee meeting when we met DPW.
Got it. So the subcommittee approved got it. Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the April 17 minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
Discussion, comments, edits? I don't have any. All righty. Then I will call the roll on this. Lillian?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And Chuck is yes. So same thing for April 22.
That's a full CFAC meeting, so that we'll hold that one.
That one will wait. Okay.
Yeah.
Lillian, I do believe that was an operating budget subcommittee meeting on the 22nd.
Oh, right. When we had the that's right. We had the police and the schools. I stand corrected.
All right.
Excuse me, I have a question. Did that prior one, I just said yes? I thought that was a CFAC meeting. Was that an operation? Is that a budget meeting? If it was,
that was the operating budget on the one that you just said yes, but that's okay. We love your saying yes.
Okay, I could change it.
Would I have a motion to approve those minutes from the 22nd?
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
Okay. Lillian? Oops,
Yes.
I should ask comment. Sorry. All right, I don't hear any. So Lillian?
Yes.
Jackie?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And Chuck is yes. So they are
Okay.
approved.
Yep.
And now we can get on to the body of tonight's meeting, which is our initial review of the first draft of the operating budget subcommittee report. And I think Mark is going to share his screen. I am going to transcribe comments that we get.
Okay. How do you want to do
So-
this? Page by page?
Yeah, I think so, Lillian. And Mark, is there a way to make your screen just one page per, so that we can make it a little bigger? There we go.
Okay, we need to change the council liaison.
All righty.
And then
Correct.
under subcommittee, you have Tom Keene, which I know you wanted to make him an honorary member, but he got a free ride this year.
You got a free ride.
He got a
That's
free
the
ride.
best. That's the best kind of subcommittee member, Lillian.
Yep,
So, okay, I have that fixed.
yep.
And
I
Mark,
I don't see any other changes.
Mark, all I did on the two links was either leave them or update the year, but at some point, I'm just gonna need somebody in your office to confirm that those links are accurate.
Okay, will do.
All right.
Okay. Next,
Next page are just my notes. We can skip the ones in pink.
okay. So we can just go on?
Yep. Let's
Okay.
just-
Okay, we can get rid of CWMP because we don't no longer have a
Yes,
section
good
on
catch.
that.
Good catch.
And then under enterprise funds, we want to get rid of water pollution control and insert sewer.
You are correct. I've
Okay.
looked at this thing, Lillian, 27 times, and every time I look at it, the effectiveness of my review goes down. So good catches.
No matter
All
how
right.
many eyes look at it, we'll still find things.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
that's all I found.
All righty.
Any,
I don't hear anything else.
nope.
Okay, so let's keep going to methodology.
Methodology looks good. That's the same methodology we use every time.
Yep.
Yep.
Overview.
Okay, going over to overview. Under fiscally sound, under CFAC commends. You see that, of course.
Yep. That
Okay.
was I thought I found all those, but I changed millions to million, and anytime there was a double M, it capitalized it. So. And there are some numbers that I just need to confirm before we finalize the report.
Yeah.
We'll go through this, Chuck, with you and confirm all those numbers for you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Now, under the CWMP, again, under water pollution control enterprise
Oh,
fund, we want to
yep.
change it to sewer.
Sewer. Yep. Good
Yep.
catch.
That's all that I found.
Okay. Changes are made.
Okay. High level spotlight.
Yeah. So this, I didn't want to call it an executive summary because it doesn't summarize the entire report. It was just some things that struck me. And so I threw it in here. And if people like it as a section, but think we should make different points, that's fine, or we can just drop it. But I threw it in. So
Again, I think, yeah, I agree that we need to check all those numbers. Are we changing words or are we just going at content today?
we can do whatever you like, Lillian. I think, if we get into too much words and it gets to be 8 o'clock and we're on page 8, then we'll probably have to.
Right. Well, here's what I think. Under line 4, under long-term methodology. Is that the right word?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Is it not a long-term solution, maybe?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Good catch.
Now, I don't know if that next sentence is true. So I'll leave it. I mean, in general, larger cost centers are increasingly dependent on reserves to balance the budgets. Is that true? I'm just asking because I don't know.
So for that sentence and for the second bullet point,
Yeah.
I went through the numbers that I have, and these are the conclusions that I drew. But that's why I wrote the thing in big red letters.
Yeah.
Mark may read this and say either, well, that's simply not true, or you've misinterpreted the numbers.
Yeah, Chuck, I did start to go through this afternoon. I didn't get very far because I had other things I was working on, but
Yep.
I'm gonna offer you some alternative text. I'll do it through track changes so you can see what I put in there.
Okay.
I'm gonna attempt to more accurately reflect what the numbers mean in the budget and send you that. So after we finish this evening, if you could send me the draft, your latest draft, I'll work off of that and send it back to you with my edits.
I'll do that. That'd be great. And I will, I'll send you that after the meeting.
Okay,
That's really great because I'm not sure about the accuracy of the enterprise funds paragraph. The 20% come from transfers for et cetera, et cetera. So just for accuracy.
And I do, yes, Lillian, I think that's important because I do,
Yeah,
I wrote this before I got your enterprise fund analysis, and I'm not sure what I've written in this bullet and what you wrote in the section are necessarily consistent. So we need to make sure that this bullet point is either correct, or we can just drop it if there's not a point to be made.
right. Well, Mark is going to redo some of this, so that'll be helpful.
Okay.
On the state aid, is it? I thought it was 11.4%, but I don't know that. I mean, based on the figures that I had. That's
Well,
the third bullet.
Yep.
Again, I don't know.
Yep, I will
Instead of
highlight.
Yeah, I don't know whether 14 is accurate because the set of figures I have is 11.4. So anyway,
I'll highlight
think
that.
yeah, I think it is, but again, I'll have Gareth and I will go through this and we'll double check the dollar figures referenced and the percentages calculated, make sure that they're accurate.
That's cool. And I'll mark it in yellow so you know what to look for.
yeah. And I have a general suggestion about the 4 bullet points.
Okay.
If we have bullet point 1, you could put largest cost centers as your heading. And then bullet point 2 would be enterprise funds. Third bullet point would be state aid. And fourth bullet point would be personnel. That way, when you look at it, you know what those issues are.
All right.
That's just my thought. Up to you.
Easy to do. So I'm doing it as we speak. And I like the idea, and I can highlight it so the labels stand out a little.
Right, exactly. So that at a glance, you know what the spotlight is concentrating on.
Yep.
Okay.
And Lillian, Chuck, when you have different, like the airport and the sewer and the water, instead of putting them in a sentence, could those become the bullets then? So that it makes it easier to identify them? So for example, under the 3 enterprise fund comprises, so you have airport and then you would have a figure over on the side. So it kind of separates the figure from the entity. And then
I see what you're saying.
Sewer, and then on the, so it probably kind of like a table or something to that effect. So it's more of a calculation rather than a sentence.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, Jackie. I made the changes that Lillian suggested, and I will just make a note to do that before I send it to Mark. Just make sure it looks okay. Got it.
That's all I've got.
All right.
Looks good. Moving on to revenue. Okay,
Revenue.
those first three paragraphs are left over from last year. And then you go into the revenue for 25. The enterprise funds are 49.9 million.
Gareth said that he was going to need to check this column for the most
Okay.
updated.
Okay,
These came directly from him, so.
okay, I'm just making comments based on the figures that I had.
Okay,
And mine might all be wrong. So if it's 49.9, then it's 12% year over year. But let's figure out who has it.
okay, so I will highlight that.
Yeah, we just need to check it, that's all.
Okay.
And
Are
otherwise
you
it looks,
using, I'm sorry, go ahead.
nope,
Are you using the word year over year again, why you put it in quotations? Is it coming up again further in the paragraph?
It comes up repeatedly in the document, yes.
Okay,
And I'm just trying to minimize the amount of space we take up with words if I can use an acronym.
okay.
that's all I've got.
All right.
Okay. Funding for the enterprise funds does not come from property tax. If you look at what I say in the explanation of the funding of enterprise funds,
Right. All right, so you're saying that the first sentence on
Yeah,
that
yeah.
page should be property taxes provide almost blank % of all funding for the general fund budget.
right, that's what I'm saying.
All right. And I will check the % then.
Okay. I think it is 50. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I will check that.
I think maybe the
okay.
reason why Chuck drafted it this way was that we do provide some general fund support for the HYCC enterprise operation. So there is some tax
True.
support for one of our
You're-
major enterprise fund operations, but that's really the only one.
And the
Okay.
first,
The
The
reason that I question it
paragraph-
is because it was all the funding for the general fund, but it's only part.
Got it. Okay. I will adjust the verbiage.
Okay,
first paragraph under property taxes, last line, that's plural, the is supposed to be are. Is the final category that provides over 10 million are, and then it would be categories.
where are you now?
Last sentence. Is the final category, because you said taxes, so that's an S. And behind boat, there is supposed to be a comma. So motor vehicle, boat, comma, and room excise taxes are the final categories.
I
But
think
all
it's,
of those
I think,
taxes are lumped together in one category, correct? Other
yeah, I
taxes
think
is
it's a
the name of the
category, so it's,
category. Yeah,
I agree. Category uses the verb is.
So then we should, the S from tax then, because we're talking about the taxes.
Yeah, but we're
Well,
talking
If
about,
one way or the other, it is.
if
Well,
the
you
name
could
of the
re-
category is other taxes, that would be singular, even
Yeah.
though taxes is plural. Because it's one category.
I agree with that. So
All right, well,
is
I'll leave
correct.
it. I'll leave it for now.
Okay,
A quick question is, I always associated in my head Chapter 70 funds with schools. Is my interpretation wrong? Is it's both for municipal operations as well as school?
yes,
It's chapter 78 is the state's contribution towards funding education at the local level, but the revenue goes actually to the municipality, to the town, and not to the
Gotcha.
school district.
I remember you saying that before. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty.
yeah.
Other
Are we
things on the
become-
page.
Under concern, are we becoming ever more dependent on chapter 70?
Not this year. We didn't get much of an increase.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what
but
I'm
we
saying.
certainly did in 23 and 24. I
Right.
mean, chapter 78 has doubled from 12.5 million to 25 million.
All righty. I'll adjust the verbiage. Good catch.
Okay.
Linda.
So how much do we expect from chapter 70 this year?
It's only a couple $100,000 more. It's just over 25 million. It's not a big increase.
That's what I thought.
Chuck, you have in the first paragraph, chapter 78 on the third line from the bottom. And you have that aid capitalized, but then in the rest of it, you have the aid.
Right, right.
Yep. Good catch. I will fix that. Okay.
Okay. That's all I've got.
All right.
Okay, the general fund.
General fund. So Mark, my question in pink there was, in one document that I read, it said that the general fund increase was about 6.6% year over year. And then in the latest numbers I saw, if I just do the math, if 197 to 213 is 8.1. I'm not sure if how we treat reserves is partially it partially explains the difference in those numbers, or maybe it doesn't, and maybe it's one or the other. But I just didn't want to forget to ask. And if that's something you need to check, that's fine. I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, well, thank you. And yeah, Gareth and I will go through this and make sure that the percentages and numbers are all accurate, because as we meet here this evening, he was diligently working on finalizing the budget today, all
Okay.
day. So we don't even have a finalized complete operating budget yet. But we're trying to draft a report on something where the numbers haven't yet been finalized.
All right.
So,
Yeah,
but we'll go through it, make sure that everything ties out to what we're gonna send to the printer this week.
great, thank you.
Excellent.
I think it's fine. The paragraph just below the chart, you start in the post-pandemic economy. Do we
Yep.
need to do that? Because your sentence says almost every revenue is expected to generate more income in 25 than in 24. It's just a question I ask.
Yeah, there is not a nope. There's not a need for the first kind of
Right. So if we started
phrase
the
that's set
sentence,
off.
right. So if we started the sentence with almost,
Yep.
is that okay? Thank you.
Yep.
I otherwise it looks good.
That year over year comes up again. And
Yep.
this time it is hyphens. There are hyphens between year over year. In the first one, it wasn't.
Yep, okay.
There's another one, Mark, two sentences, yeah.
No, let's see, the YOY looks, aren't they all consistent? YOY.
Yeah, I see what Jackie's saying. I fixed the one that she pointed out,
Oh, okay,
or the two, I should say.
yeah. Looks okay to me.
All right.
All right. Next page.
I have one typo here I have to fix. Okay, there we go.
Okay,
Yeah, the Vineyard Wind numbers I don't have.
I got according to the workup that I did on the enterprise fund, we're supposed to get in fiscal 25 1.037 million.
Okay,
It goes to water supply, yeah.
all right.
And you can, you can double check it against the text that I have on the other.
All right. I will change it, but I'll leave it highlighted.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
The remaining 65% of the general fund is allocated between municipal operations and local education.
Yep.
And normally that 65% is allocated 40% for municipal and 60% for education.
Right.
And this is how town council normally thinks a bit about it. So I wonder if we could clarify it so they won't get confused.
Yeah, the
See what I'm
numbers that
saying?
are in this paragraph are the budget numbers. I didn't just do it 60-40. I actually divided
Right, I know
by
what you did.
25 numbers by the
Right,
total
I know.
number. And
Yeah, I know
so
what you did.
we're off by 1% on both, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, this isn't talking about the 60-40 revenue sharing agreement that we have between municipal operations and school operations.
right. Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
I'm comfortable with those numbers, which is why they aren't highlighted.
Yeah.
All right.
Your summary basically tracks what we did in 24.
Yeah, I'm trying to drop the COVID stuff, but I
Yeah.
still like using it as an example. But this has been whittled down and edited a bunch.
Yeah, I noticed that it has. Yeah, if you could sort of make COVID disappear a little bit.
Okay, I can, yeah, that's not going to be tough.
Okay,
I should be on mute.
but otherwise it's good.
Yep, done.
Okay. Well done. Ready to move on to schools.
All right. Let me page down.
Lillian, one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to show that the contribution for the town was part of chapter 78. I kind of glanced over what you had asked, and I don't think that we've ever calculated the use of chapter 78. So that's what I wanted to show in this. Don't know how you feel about that. Oh, and I should say, the hallmark of a great leader is someone that can take somebody else's work and make it better. So thank you.
What is the foundation enrollment? Is that the school enrollment?
Yes.
It's not exactly like the number of kids in seats. It's a
Right.
number that the state uses to come up with their foundation budget. And so They're two different things. I mean, our actual enrollment with students and seats is just under 5,000, but they count things like
Charter
kids
schools,
kids that are English language learners or economically disadvantaged. They go into the foundation enrollment number. So if you look at the Chapter 70 foundation budget formula, it shows how many students they throw into each one of these 16 different categories. So they're not apples to apples when you're talking about foundation enrollment and kids in seats in our local school district.
That's a good point. Maybe we should, describe what the foundation enrollment is.
And
Because it's different from the student enrollment.
yeah, if you were to your point, Mark, if you were a reader of this report, which is the number that would be most relevant to you? Is it the foundation enrollment or the number of kids in seats?
If we're talking about the Chapter 78 calculation, as the title of this table indicates, it's foundation enrollment would be the appropriate number. But we can provide with a definition of what foundation enrollment is. We can just take that right off of the Department of Education's website.
Yeah, I think that would clarify it if we describe what foundation enrollment is.
okay. Okay.
All right.
I can
Jackie, do
provide
you
that.
remember what the superintendent said, why the reduction in the Chapter 70 funds from 24 to 18?
How
That
much?
number's not right. Chapter 78 for 25 is about 25 million. So I don't know, Jackie, I think I gave you these numbers.
Yeah,
So we'll have to go through and verify this because that's a wrong number, that 18 million. I think
okay.
it's more like FY 23's Chapter 78.
Oh dear. Okay. All right.
Thank you for
I,
catch, Jim. That's
Okay.
not a right number there.
Didn't she talk about that though? I mean, was she also advocating or?
Yes. We were expecting a larger increase in Chapter 78 in FY 25, but the state used a lower factor for inflation in calculating their foundation budget for fiscal year 25. Normally, it's been close to 5%, the inflation factor that they've used. But in FY 25, they only used, I think, a 1.3% inflation
What?
factor.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that resulted in a much lower foundation budget number, which carries through their formula, resulting in lower Chapter 70 aid increase than what we were expecting.
So should the change of Chapter 70, that 6 million, be in parentheses?
No,
That's
it's
gonna be a
actually-
different number.
the FY 25 number is different. It's more like 25 million, so it's actually going to be a slight increase.
Oh, so the figure that's there is not correct.
That's right.
Okay,
I'll highlight that in yellow, Mark.
Thank you.
okay.
Those percent changes, if they're negative, they should be, well, I guess they won't be negative any longer. They should be
Yeah, they
red
won't
or
be negative.
minus sign.
So if we're going to describe the foundation enrollment, should there be some description of the changes in the ELL, ED, and special students between 24 and 25?
Well,
it would that actually, if we were
It impacts on the budget, on the foundation budget.
on the foundation enrollment, which then.
No, it impacts on well, based on what Mark said, based on the foundation enrollment, it has an impact on the foundation budget. Is that true?
Yes,
So what I'm saying is that the enrollment that Mark was talking about are the various categories such as the ELL, ED, special students, etc. The
Mhm.
various categories. I wonder whether you should expand that and compare those categories between 24 and 25. Or are there any changes?
okay, yes.
Lillian,
But
could you also do it by reference? In other words, reference to superintendent's
Yeah, I think
report,
so.
rather than go through a long-winded explanation, just include a link with a
And then-
reference for more detail? Would that help, Jackie?
Yes, and then Lillian, the plus or minus change of the 109 is actually the difference between what happened in 24 and 25.
Right.
But I could still make a verbiage on it so that it's not just, I didn't want to give my opinion on the chapter 78, but my intention was to capture a picture of the town of Barnstable's contribution to chapter 78. So when we're looking at the total, we're not just thinking that that total came only from the state, but that, and so
No,
the reason go ahead.
no, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to capture. That, to me, that is how we pay into chapter 78, or kind of like a payback, or this is our contribution to chapter 78. And so I wanted to show that because I don't think we'd ever captured that before, that it's not just what's coming from the state, but it's also that there is a contribution to the total from the town.
Right, right. The only reason I brought up the ELL and ED is because there was a huge increase last year.
Mhm.
And
Okay,
I think I just thought it would put it in perspective if we compared the
I
number
will.
of students that fell into each category. And
I
of
will.
course, a lot of the ELL students also qualify as ED students. And so, we made a pretty big point about it in last year's school report.
Mhm.
And I think also there's maybe I'm wrong, but in my mind, there was a contextual thing too. If I'm just kind of looking at the budget
Right,
and I'm wondering why flat or slightly down enrollment is resulting in, a fairly healthy increase year over year in budget. My recollection is that last year, the changes in ELL, ED, and special students was part of the explanation for the need for further funds. And so it puts to some extent, it puts the year over year budget increase in, it explains it.
But if it increased this year, then Chuck, then perhaps we should have gotten more money. If it continues to increase, then the chapter 78 should increase by that margin as well. I was hoping to capture that statement in just the chart instead of actually saying it.
the only reason I brought that up is because there was such a big change last year.
Okay,
Yep.
And I thought we needed to address it, whether it stayed the same or it went down.
okay, okay, will do. Will do.
Yeah, because it's fairly substantial.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And Sarah talked a lot about ESSER funds, which I admit I had to do some research on after the school meeting because I wasn't quite sure. I didn't know context for them. But she brought them up repeatedly in her presentation, and I wonder if we need a comment in here on what the final year of ESSER funds presence has on the school budget.
Yeah, she did make a big point out of that.
I will go back and listen to it again, find something that I can insert.
It actually is it's a big deal. It's not
Yep.
insignificant, and how we manage that, I mean, lots of school systems are managing it through layoffs, right? They're changing their complexion of their staff to meet the the benefits of the ESSER programs. And I brought up in our last call with her that, they made the decision to I guess they've got back a half-time of a librarian because the skill sets are all shifting. So,
Yeah. Well, there were two things that she emphasized. One was the expiration of the ESSER funds, and then the increase of contractual services because of staffing shortages, and then the need to use the school savings, I think it was $2.4 million, to offset the
mhm.
expiration of ESSER. And we probably need to mention that.
Okay,
So you can go back and look at her presentation,
yeah,
because it's all there.
Well, it's recorded as well. So-
Yeah. And the increase in operating costs. Because you have the contracted services, special ed, transportation.
I assume, and maybe I'm not sure if I'm asking Mark, Jim, or Lillian, but if I have a budget and I use some of what Sarah referred to as savings to balance my budget, I assume unless I continue to be either understaffed or find savings somewhere to replenish this thing, that's a strategy that has a limited shelf life. That there aren't perpetual savings.
That's correct, Chuck. I mean, and
That is
so
right.
it relies upon that kind of funding strategy to balance a budget relies upon our ability to generate savings, to replenish what we use. And if that doesn't happen, then you're looking at reductions or elimination of costs,
Mhm.
whether it's staff layoffs or other cost reductions. You have to do one or the other because you can't necessarily continue to spend savings to balance an operating budget unless you continuously generate an equal or more amount every year, which is what our historical actual closeout of the fiscal year has shown. We've always, in the past several years, we've generated more than what we've used to balance the operating budgets, which is why you've seen our general fund surplus grow over the years.
Right.
And so we're not overly concerned with surplus being used to balance the FY25 budget because we're projecting to generate close to $6 million of surplus when we close the fiscal year. So that's going to replenish what we use to balance the budget.
Okay.
And that's that strategy you talk about in your report when you mention conservative revenue estimation.
Right.
Because we could increase a lot of our general fund revenue estimates to eliminate the use of any reserves.
Mm.
But we like to be conservative, so that in the event we do have a downturn in the economy and our revenues don't come in, we don't want to end up with a revenue deficit.
Right.
But that will be the first signal that we receive that says, okay, this strategy is no longer going to work. Your actual revenues are starting to decline. You can't continue using savings to balance the operating budgets because you're not going to be able to replenish them.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was a really good explanation. Um. So I think we need to, talk about the sources of fund for the school budget. Sarah talked about savings, school choice, circuit breaker, and the general fund. So it needs to be somewhere.
Okay. Is school choice part of the, is school choice part of that whole thing? What did you call it, Lillian? That word you used?
Yeah, it's gonna be, it's projected to be $750,000 in 25. The circuit breaker is 1.8 million and
Circuit
general
breaker.
fund is 86.9. And then we talked about the savings already that she's using to offset the ESSER funds. But if you go back, it's all in her report.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mark, you sent that to all of us, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yep, thank you.
Yeah, if anybody needs a copy, let me know. I can send it out again.
I don't know about, what about this highlights of the operating budget? Where are you? Commitment.
You mean back at the beginning, Lillian?
No. I moved ahead without realizing. So now we're looking at the top expenditures. Why are we doing this? What does this, I'm looking at the commitment to education, top expenditures 24 to 28.
Okay.
Where are we getting this? Where did this come from? I just don't know where it is. And why are we having it?
The other page, Mark. So I wanted to look at or show that the school or that education was actually increasing and that it far outweighed anything else that we spent in the operating budget. So that's the top expenditure for the town. And there were others but I think it would clutter the graph. So I just chose 3 of them to highlight because when I tried using some of the smaller amounts, they were negligible. So, but I wanted to show what we were spending on education as a town.
So it shows how education compares to the police budget and the employee benefit budget. So I think I get that. And then the sentence underneath the thing basically says, within the blue tower, these are the things that comprise, these are the 3 biggest components. My 2 questions are, should this be FY 25 to 29 if we're going to use it?
Yeah, I agree. It should be 25 to 29. And why don't we just
I think we need to relabel it if we're going to use it.
I'm more inclined to do education versus municipal budget.
Yeah, I agree. It needs a punchier
Because
header.
Yeah.
So what would you like to call it, Lillian?
No, I just the comparison of education, the schools versus the rest of the municipal budget.
Do you want to do the 3 main categories, education, municipal, and fixed cost?
Right. Just 2 categories, because employee benefits comes out of fixed costs.
Okay. I will,
Those are just my thoughts, you know, I just throw that out and see what you guys think.
no, I will redraft a header, Lillian.
Yeah.
We
And
just need,
do we have the figures for
right, we just need a new set of numbers.
25 to 29?
I did not get numbers for 29. I got numbers up to 28. So I would have,
Those are all projected.
yes.
Yes, those are all projected.
And could we get a source for that? Could you put a source under that?
Yes, we can add a source. Those are numbers that we tried to
Thank
project.
you.
Jackie.
Yeah,
We'll go back and we'll try to update it to include projections for 29 as well.
yeah, thank you.
All right,
Okay. So we're gonna fix that one.
we'll fix that one.
Yeah, now do we move to the highlights?
Yes,
Okay,
I was kind of stuck on this one. I'm not sure how to read what the vertical axis is or what
yeah. Same
the-
here.
the numbers
Is-
are.
Is there a way to make it clearer?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize we didn't have a key on it. I am sorry. So the highlights of the operating budget, we have that in thousands. We have curriculum. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I did not label the axes.
And what year is this? Or is it generally?
The highlights for the school operating budget. Let me put that in as well. It's FY 24, 25. I missed that. I'm sorry. So let me put that in as well. And you said you did not understand it was just because was that just because it wasn't labeled or because the graph isn't clear?
Well, I'll speak for myself. If I read the numbers, teachers are 29 million something. Am I reading that right?
Right,
Yes.
I see that.
Right. Right. So I think we need to. I think if we simplify the left column labels to be dollars and millions, we can get rid of some of the zeros without commas and just make it easier to read.
Okay. Okay.
And then if you could put the year on it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I added the year, Lillian.
Okay, sorry.
But that's okay. You wouldn't know that because I don't know how to screen share.
Yeah.
So
So
I
are
added-
is this 24?
I would think this should be 25, right? I mean,
I think it should be 25.
it's the
Do we
report
have-
we're doing.
Do we have the projections for that?
Do you have the projections?
Well, I defer to Mark, but I mean, this has to be in Sarah's budget somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is FY 25, right from Sarah's budget. Is that where you
Yeah.
got the numbers, Jackie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I've changed it. I've added the 25. I'm not going to mess around with the chart
I will do that. I will.
in the middle of a meeting, but I think we can clarify the left column. And then there appears to be a footnote on building maintenance that I don't see anywhere. So I assume we just dropped the 2 from the bottom.
Yeah,
Is
is there a source there?
I assume we're not footnoting that.
She said that in the meeting, in the presentation that she gave.
I'm sorry?
She talked about the 10 million in savings from the presentation that she gave.
Oh, sorry.
We're
Maybe
talking
we were
about the
talking,
building maintenance. Do you see
yeah, in the chart,
in the chart, Jackie, it says building maintenance and there's a 2 after it.
Oh, my goodness.
That's what we were asking.
yeah, I just
Thank
think we have to drop the 2.
Yes, I missed that. I think I
Yeah,
was
we
working.
hadn't gotten to the paragraphs yet.
I actually worked on this overnight on Tuesday night. I think I must have been half asleep. Because I don't know how that 2 got in, and I did not notice that, so I'm sorry. I will change that in my report as well.
Okay. Are we ready to go to the paragraph?
I am.
Can we have a source for that first paragraph?
What am I going to do? I'm going to save this. Save as V2.
Are you still looking at the school paragraphs or?
No,
Are
no,
we-
we're
we
we're
need to-
still in the schools. We haven't moved to public. Yeah, we're still there. Yeah, that first paragraph that said the administration leadership. Can we get a source?
I'm not sure how I would, where would I
Where
find
did
that
you,
source?
the question I'm asking is, where did we get this information?
Right, and I think we have another date issue. It says FY24, but again, I don't think,
Yeah, that's the question.
yeah, I
This
think
came
this should be,
from, hold on. This came from a document, FY25 recommended operating budget that I got from Chris. And I think that's one of the things that is on the website for the school as well.
okay, so this is an FY25 number.
So is it, yeah, is this FY
24.
25?
Paying grants. Oh, the grant information?
Yep.
Did that come from Mark? Grant. Yeah.
Yeah, the grant figure of 63.99 I got from Chris's communication that he provided to CFAC a couple weeks ago. He sent out an email that had historical numbers on grants, both entitlement grants and competitive grants that the school department had received. I pulled it off of that email from him. I
Okay,
don't know if y'all recall seeing it.
And so Mark, is that an FY25 number?
No, that's an FY24 number.
Mhm.
We don't know
We
FY25
don't know
yet.
grant.
Okay,
That's why. Okay, that makes sense.
okay, there's a paragraph that starts the school. Are we finished with that part?
Well, if I can, I just want to clarify the wording here. Maintaining a grant pool of approximately 7% over the past years. I'm not sure what that means.
I use the word approximately because I wanted to compare it with what they had now. So they have 7% now. I asked for the number, it's God knows I asked. And so since it was 7%, then I used the word approximately in order to be true.
So what were they in the past
It's
couple of years.
7% for 24. I tried getting the numbers and I did not get those numbers. I think finally I did ask Mark and he gave me these numbers, but
Okay,
yeah. Pulling teeth.
All right.
okay,
Well, I'll make that small change then and just,
okay.
I'll highlight it so that we know to just make sure it's accurate.
Okay.
Under the, are we finished with that part? I'm looking at the school budget saw an increase of 5%.
That
I
came
think
from
it's-
Sarah's presentation.
It's 7.99. The FY 25 is projected to be 7.99. And I think we have to say will increase because we haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
'cause-
if you look at her report, she has a chart and it shows the total budget goes up by almost 8%.
Yeah, I think she said, if I recall, Lillian, I think she said they were shooting for 5, but they didn't hit it.
Right.
Yeah.
But her expenses show that it's 7.99.
Yep, I think that's right.
Is everybody okay with that?
I changed it on mine.
Yeah. One last thing is, are there any cost reductions in this budget?
I did not hear that from her presentation.
Well, if you look at her report. Because we addressed that last year.
Yeah, there's a list of cost reductions provided in her report. I mean, for example, one of them is the elimination of the school attorney position. And there was a few other reductions in the
Yeah.
FY proposed budget.
Yeah,
The challenge for that, Mark, and again, maybe I'm thinking private sector, so, but if you tell me you're gonna cut FTEs by some number because you're gonna eliminate 12 positions, but you're gonna add 17, then you really haven't had a cost reduction. What you've had is a cost increase that you've mitigated to some extent.
You're right, net cost, it's a net cost increase, but there were reductions included in the total cost increase to arrive at that net cost increase.
Got it. Okay. All right.
can we have a conclusion part on this?
The cost of ignorance, that's a conclusion.
No, the conclusion of your analysis of the school budget.
This paragraph that says the cost of ignorance is my conclusion, is my summary.
So I'll be proactive. After, in the middle of that last paragraph, the sentence that ends in over the next 5 years, period. If it were me, I'm not sure. Again, Mark can tell me I'm wrong. I'm not sure that the next 2 sentences are factually accurate. I mean, just only because I don't think that's logistically feasible for the school department. I'm not sure they get to invest their current savings, and I'm not sure they can handle the retained earnings of the town's enterprise funds. I'm just not sure that's anything within their purview. So Again, acknowledging that I could be dead wrong on this. After next 5 years, I would kind of period, stop. And then in the conclusion, have it be fact-based. All in what we've seen in the school department with all the things that we've talked about adding is thus and so. And
so
Lillian,
you're-
if that's not what you were going for, then by all means, speak up.
And so you're saying remove it from the schools and then put it in the actual conclusion, or eliminate it altogether?
I would,
I'm not
because
sure.
I don't think those middle two sentences, investing the current savings all the way through quarterly returns, I'm not sure that's the way the budget process or the management of the budget actually works. So I would just drop it after over the next 5 years and then have a conclusion section that after, we've enhanced this to add the things that Lillian has talked about adding, we kind of hit the punchline for how we see the budget from a factual standpoint for
Okay.
FY25. And
Okay.
again, I'm telling you what I think, but it's just an opinion. Lillian, whomever.
It can be eliminated. Yeah.
Yes,
can be-
I agree with what Chuck said, and I support eliminating the part in yellow.
I just want to say, though, I really like the words. It spoke to me, the first couple of sentences. I enjoy hearing Jackie's point of view about, and I feel I would put, I would express it differently, but I certainly get the sense of what you're saying, Jackie, and I think it is our most important asset. But maybe it might not be the right way to say it, but I agree with your point of view.
Thank you. One of the things that Lillian also always says, and I know we've been on the school budget for a while, so I just, when I thought of what to write, or when I sat with Mark to figure out all of this, I thought that our position was to actually, in our minds, come up with some kind of solution, because actually all this information it is somewhere, it is available if someone wanted to see it. But I think based on what you've been saying, Lillian, the purpose of CFAC is actually to make suggestions. So if we're taking information that's already available, the purpose of putting it together is actually so we have a contextual idea of how to say, this is what I would do if I were in that position. And so when I talked to Mark, I tried to come up with other information. At that point, I thought I was doing CWMP. So, but that's what I was thinking. Coming up with some kind of an idea. What would we do as citizens of the town if we were given the opportunity to express ourselves?
I think what we need to do when we look at all of the figures, the revenue and expenditures, we finish the analysis of where it is, where it's increasing, where it's decreasing, where the challenges are, and then you put that all into a conclusion.
Okay.
Of what you've seen, and where you think, what is the impact in the long run?
Yes.
What would be the impact of the increased school CIP projects, for example, on fixed cost debt service? And how will that relate to the net general funds that'll be available for school operations? I mean, stuff like that. Thinking ahead and putting it all together in your conclusion.
Okay. All right, I'll think again.
Yeah, just flesh it out a little bit.
Perhaps now, Lillian, we can sit together and have that meeting.
we can't do that because it would constitute a violation of the open meetings law.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Point well taken. All right, I'll think it through. Mark
Thank
did
you.
say that you would have wonderful ideas on the budgets and what to do, so, yeah. All right, does that
Okay.
take care of schools?
So if we could get that from you by Wednesday, we will devote Thursday to looking at it.
Okay. Chuck, can you send me the revised version that you have, please?
I will. When I send it to Mark, I will send it to you as well, Jack.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay,
So we can move on to,
we can.
where am I?
Let's see.
DPW?
Yep, it's looking good. The first paragraph is from last year. And the second paragraph is a good description. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to just update. Obviously, I did that last year,
Yeah.
so kind
Yeah,
of reworded some things and highlighted the challenges. So
yeah, I think it's a comprehensive look at it. I think you did a good job. You know,
the only thing I wanted to ask too, I put in there that CFAC recommends a salary study. Do we need to like vote on that as a committee to say that we want to recommend that? I was just basing that off of the discussion we had with Dan Santos, and everyone seemed pretty on board with that when that was mentioned.
well, when we review it with the whole committee, we can bring that up and see what the thoughts are. But I think that we would support that.
Okay.
But I'm
Yeah,
only
I
speaking for
didn't know.
myself.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't know if we need like a separate vote of the committee on that specific item, or just the approval of the whole document functions as the vote,
Yeah, well,
Chris, could you refresh my memory? What was the discussion wrapped around with Director Santos?
It was brought up that the town has not done a salary study for what different positions should pay to be competitive with the private
Right.
sector in recent years, so that should be done just to get, salaries back in line with the private sector.
The only thing I would ask is on the second to the last paragraph, where you have the divisions of DPW. You have solid waste, water pollution control, and water supply. Now, WPC has now become sewer.
Yep.
So I don't
That's-
know whether we want to be accurate, or you could put down sewer, formerly WPC.
Well, we definitely want to be accurate, yeah, so.
Yeah, so I
we
would change it
that.
to sewer.
Okay,
Okay, got it?
Got it. That's it. Good job. I have no changes.
perfect.
All right, hang on, I got one more thing to change. All right, good. I just don't want to lose these edits. All right,
Okay.
police department?
Now, I don't
Yeah.
know if these numbers for 24 are accurate, actually, because it didn't line up percentage-wise with what the chief had presented. So I'll have to, Mark, if you can send me actual fiscal 24 numbers, because that was what the numbers were that I had, but I don't know if they're accurate.
Yeah, Chris, I think we had a couple of supplementals during the year for the police department, and so that's probably accounts for the difference. So we'll verify these numbers for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, the 24 numbers are the ones that we used last year. So if there were any changes, I guess you'll find it. But I like the way that you dealt with personnel, operating costs, and capital outlay. That makes it really clear.
All right.
and I don't want to sidetrack us, but Mark, is there a reason the civil servant thing is a thing? That's not a very eloquent question, but I mean, if everybody thinks it's a hindrance, and if everybody's behind, police department that's fully staffed, and is there a reason that it sounds like it's going to be such a battle to get through, or am I mishearing what's
I
going
don't
on?
think it's gonna be a battle, Chuck, to get through it, because like you said, everybody's in support of removing our police department from civil service. We
Right.
just have to come up with a process for promotion, discipline, and there's one other category that escapes my process of thinking right now, but we have to create these internal processes that replace the ones under civil service that provide for promotion, hiring, and discipline. Those are the three
Got it.
categories. So it's all going to be done internally now and not through the civil service process.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and that takes a little bit of time to develop that.
Yep, I imagine so.
I have no comments. I think it's this is a good report.
Thank you.
All right. Let me do this. Go back. Where are we? Enterprise funds.
No, that's me. And
That's
it's
you.
cut rate basic. I went through all of the funds, what the revenue was, what the increase was, what they do, what some of their problems are, and that's basically it. That's for each of the funds. And I point out that some of the funds will have major construction coming up.
Yes. Yep.
And then I talked about the sewer commitments going forward, because it's everybody's interested in it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
all
I
looks
like
good
these
today.
sections, Lillian.
Comprehensive.
Thank you.
Yep. I made a couple of small little typing edits, but absolutely nothing substantive.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Lillian, can I just ask you your source for this table right here? Was that from my last presentation that I gave
Yeah, I
on
think so.
funding the CWMP?
I think so.
Okay.
Let's
Okay, page
see.
28. I see. You got the source right here.
Yeah, I have source,
Right there. Yeah,
capital budget, page 28.
got it. Thank you.
Yeah. I try to give sources because, it's such a long time span.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Fixed costs.
Fixed costs. I talk about the funding sources, the expenses. The percentage of fixed costs of employee benefits, school assessments, and transfers. And then I do an analysis of the two fixed cost expenses that might increase in the future, which is the active employee health insurance and the debt service.
Mark, what's the timing on the health insurance election process where you'll say, okay, as of this date, we can assess the impact?
Tomorrow is the last day of
Okay.
open enrollment
Hey,
for fiscal year 25. And so I would expect that next week, Human Resources will have a more accurate count as to the number of new participants we may have captured as a result of going from 50-50 to 70-30.
Yep.
And then, of course, we'll have to run what the projected expenditure is on that based on the health plans that they take, because what I'm hearing through the grapevine is that we're not experiencing a significant number of new plans. But that could change tomorrow. People may wait till the last day to file their election.
Right.
It happens sometimes. But what more interestingly, what we're seeing is people are electing to go to more expensive PPO plans and moving away from the HMOs and the health savings account high deductible plans as a result of this shift from 50-50 to 70-30.
Yep.
So interestingly, people are saying, well, now that the town's going to pay 70% as opposed to 50%, I'm going to elect a more expensive plan.
Interesting.
And
In my
You-
mind, the benefits don't change significantly from a high deductible HSA, which I'm belong to, and I'm not moving from that to go to a PPO because I don't see a big difference in the benefits. The only one being that perhaps, with an HMO or an HSA plan, you've got to call your primary care physician in order to see a specialist and get their approval, where with the PPO, you don't have to do that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the enrollments change.
Yeah, I mean, all we ever saw in the private sector with PPOs, it was all a matter of choice.
Yeah.
As opposed to financials, it was just more freedom to pick and see and do.
Yeah, you go out and network. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people like the opportunity to be able to do that.
All right. All right.
All right.
That's debt service. Yep.
So then I deal with the two things in the debt service with the active employee health insurance and the debt service.
Yep.
Now that figure that you've got yellow, that comes from page 1, capital budget.
I think some of the stuff in yellow, Lillian, was more.
Oh,
I read.
I didn't know whether we needed, I don't know whether we needed a source here, but I've got the sources if you need them.
Yeah, I think I'm going to highlight it just so Mark and Gareth can take a look, because sometimes we have the same number, quote unquote, in more than one place and the numbers change.
Yeah, I got these from the big capital books.
All right.
The town manager's recommendations for capital.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
And so I did that, and then I had a little conclusion.
All right. All right.
Okay. Looking ahead.
So looking ahead didn't change a whole heck of a lot.
Right, I noticed that.
I changed the part about inflation a little bit. There was a request we had a few years ago, and it was semi-prescient, I think, because inflation's been an odd duck. Almost everybody's gotten it wrong with their prognostication, so it has had an impact. So I left it in. Most of the other stuff is kind of milquetoast, so there wasn't any reason to
change it.
It's
Right. No, that's all relevant, but I agree with you on the inflation. It's sticky,
Yeah, it's just,
very sticky.
I
And
read all the survey numbers, every quarter, and I don't know anybody who's gotten it right consistently for the last 2 years.
right. And we don't know,
Um,
what kind of changes the Fed is gonna make,
Nope.
all conjecture is that earliest they'll make a change in September.
Yep. The only thing I've learned doing this for a while, Lillian, is I think collectively the bond market is a heck of a lot smarter than the stock market.
Yeah, this is true.
That's about that. It doesn't make them right. It just makes them less wrong. So anything else?
But this is good. We're looking ahead.
All righty. So what I will do is I've made all the changes we talked about. I left every number in yellow. I made a note on my own notes about the stuff that we've talked about doing with the school department section to beef it up a little bit. I will send this version just to Mark and Jackie because I don't want to overwhelm people with versions. We don't need too many of these floating around. So we'll wait to see what we get back from Jackie and if Mark has comments, and I'll just make sure I get it out before the May 2nd meeting.
Right.
Does that sound okay?
I will work on it tonight, Chuck. Probably see if I can get it to you in the morning.
All righty.
If you
I will send this to you, Mark, as soon as we hang up.
Okay. All right.
Good job,
So-
everybody.
Let's see. I assume in this meeting, we don't have any correspondence from committee members or communications from staff, but I'll ask.
None from staff.
No matters, any other matters that people want to talk about? And if not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Seconded.
all righty, Lillian,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and Chuck is a yes. So we are good, and